Anyway, let's jump into the interview here. This is where she discusses why she left Turning Point, Candace Owens. Again, body language kind of odd. Candace is either just preparing for a show or she just finished the show. So she seems like very reserved. And then the Hodge Twins, they seem like they're nervous to be in front of Candace. That's what it seems like to me. Anyway, I'll let you judge.
Much like big sister, younger brother, but more like smart guy. Tia Tamara, like your younger brother, also happens to be a genius.
Right. So you did everything for Charlie. You used to dress him up and everything, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Charlie, Charlie with the baggy suits. People who do Charlie with the baggy suits. That was a phase, which has been one of the more upsetting things to me about like Don Trump, because Don was definitely his friend. He was a part of that, and I just expected Don to say more, and he didn't. But yeah, it brings a smile on my face. It was a time, and then I got engaged. Obviously, he started dating Erika the same year that I got engaged, and life takes you in different directions. And I could see the pull of Turning Point, what they wanted to build Turning Point into after the Kanye tweet, and I was against it. I there was a lot of misconception regarding why I moved away from being the communications director. The reality is I didn't like Stacey Sheridan. I thought that she was money hungry. I expressed that to Charlie. And I felt that the people that they were suddenly hiring were obsessed with money and power. And when Charlie got into it, it was truly for love of country, but people forget he was young. He was really young. You start an organization when you're 18, and to be in your early 20s, especially for men, it is true, men mature later than women do. So
you don't want to know what I was doing at 18. That was horrible. Yeah, that's amazing.
So it becomes very, I think, tantalizing. People are pulling you in different directions, and if you do this, you could be president, you could do that, and you can get mixed in very easily with the wrong people. And politics is a pit of snakes. It's actually hard not to end up with the wrong people. And I count myself among the naive, by the way. I was working for Daily Wire. I mean, that seems crazy to me. And that was just a few years ago. Yeah. It is, there's an innocence to being young. There's a naivety to being young. It's so ridiculous when people pretend Charlie couldn't have made any mistakes in terms of who he selected as his lieutenants. Clearly he did. He did.
Yeah. Do you think, I think Charlie was a great guy from what I've seen and when I met him, but do you think, in an organization like that, do you think over time you'll be manipulated by money and just trying to keep the organization going? You'll sacrifice your integrity here just a little bit because the money is there and you need is to keep this bigger picture open, to keep this organization going?
Yeah, I think that happens naturally. I mean, look, we're human, right? And there are, of course, going to be all of these pitfalls. We all have vices, and I just remember, I don't think I've ever showed it, but Charlie he used to draw out these little charts of his goals. He was very into writing his goals down. We used to write our goals down, and they were usually metrics, like numerical metrics, by the end of this year, I want to have 10,000 Instagram followers or 20,000 Twitter followers, those sorts of things, sort of envision these things. But there was no question that he would show, this is how much I want to raise financially. So we're using this metric of success as where my finances are at, which is not totally wrong. If I did set down a chart and said I want to make sure that I have $50,000 in the bank by the time I'm 40, whatever it is, that's but then when you have the wrong people around you and they're telling you this is the person you need to meet, this is the person you need to be, and you're ignoring the morality of that person or how that person became rich. I mean, Miriam Adelson, what is the Adelson legacy? It's gambling. It's pharmaceuticals. Then you
Adelson. I think she's the one that ran up on Tucker and Charlie after Tucker gave that speech at AmFest. They say it was a really big donor. They say it was a woman and she was always around. So I think it would be her. And she was really big. I think she's the one that I think she gave Trump $200 million. I'm pretty sure while he was running. I'm pretty sure she did. Gave him 200 mil. But, just as I'm listening to this, again, I brought it up before. it reminds me so much of Jay-Z and Dame Dash. It is the exact same type of story, that you have one person who's very loud, very vocal, doesn't like the way things are going. The other one is seen as the talent. He's the guy because he's the founder, and he is being just thrown money, thrown people, and he just doesn't know what to do. He's very young. Actually, I think Jay-Z and Charlie mirror themselves in age as they were growing in Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records. I think they were close. They're similar in age. They're definitely in their 20s. And Dame was older. Candace was older. They could see things. They were being very vocal. You know, it's very, very similar. And she didn't trust Stacey Sheridan. She didn't trust anybody that was being put around Charlie. And then you kind of have to minus yourself. And the people who are around Charlie want you to minus yourself because you're not going along with the plan, right? It's interesting who you have around you. And, you know, this argument did come up months ago. And I think this is why Candace said it. The argument did come up where people were like, are you saying Charlie made mistakes and chose the wrong people? And everybody who's, you know, in the gang was like, yeah, that's what we're saying. We're saying that people in their 20s definitely make mistakes all the time, like constantly, especially with a company that you're growing and you don't realize that this Stacey lady is connected to this Lori Franzvi lady, and Erika's connected to Tyler, and Tyler is connected to Mikey McCoy, and Mikey McCoy is connected to Rob McCoy, and they're both operators, and Rob McCoy has psychological op experience, and his father did, and you know what I mean? And he's connected to the guy that wrote Mind Wars and connected to the guy who's a Satanist. Like, yeah, big mistake, you know? Should have just found more people like Candace, and that's it. Should have just kept doing that. Same with the wife that he chose, you know? Like, should have just went to church. Should have went to church, found someone there. Should have just found other people to do things. But when you're growing a company and you have people around you, they want you to pick the person who is going to actually help you grow. They 5,000 in the chat. 5,000 in the chat. I know Black Poppy. Yay. I don't know. Yeah, you say hold, please. Oh, there I am dancing. Okay, I'm dancing on the screen. All right. Someone said frozen. No, I'm not frozen. Close the chat, reopen it. That would be the thing to do, I think. If I'm frozen. If I'm not frozen, just enjoy the show and let's keep it moving. Theo says, oh no, frozen. Oh, yes, it was buffering for me too, guys. Is it good? Much lag. Why? I just improved the internet. Everybody, Whitney says I'm good now. Mute? No. Come on. Jesus. Why are you saying mute? Close the chat and reopen it. No, I'm not muted. Stop it. Not muted. Close the chat, reopen it. But if you think I'm muted, you probably can't even hear me say that. Anyway, anyway, let's keep going. It crashed for a moment. Okay, we good now. We good. You're good, coach. Thank you so much, Whitney. Really appreciate that. And AWC, thank you so much. People laughing at me in the chat. It's fine. It's fine. Listen, I'm 40. Whatever. Okay, I'm 40 in a couple months. I'm 40 in April. What can I do? You know, what can I do? It's just the way it goes. That's what happens. You turn 40, you start not knowing when things are working and when they are working. The next Candace clip we're going to pull up is her just talking about Erika and the Hodge Twins. But you see what I mean by their demeanor? It's like Candace the whole time, she doesn't really move from that position. Her hands are kind of locked away. These guys are usually really funny. You know, they're really energetic about things. They usually play off each other really well because they're connected at the brain because they're twins, and they're not doing it. And Candace isn't really moving around much. It's almost like Candace is guarded because these guys are known to be like company men when it comes to the right and the things that people are saying on the right. But they've kind of broken away from that. They're not really like that anymore. And she's not like that anymore. So it seemed weird to me. Like she's just not moving. You know, usually she's like, you know, she's out there, she's saying things, she's moving around. It just seemed like it's just an odd little disconnect. Because honestly, if they got to know each other, they warmed up, they would be hilarious together. The Hodge twins and Candace would be so funny together if they would just both loosen up. But anyway, let's hear the Erika clip.
He was dressed. I bit my tongue. I thought it was weird, but everybody grieves differently. And I fed into that. Everybody grieves differently. I don't think anybody grieves like that.
It's one of these things, these like psychological tricks, that they always argue in the extremities, right? So it's like everybody, when they're growing up, like, you're a girl or you're a boy when you're born, right? And then they'll be like, but what about this percentage of people that are actually born and they're hermaphrodite? That therefore means that, gender dysphoria is real because this could have happened. And you're like, oh, please stop arguing in the extremes. Like you are not an exception. There is this whole realm of rules, and let's stop arguing with the exceptions, okay?
Right.
Personally, the only exception that I have seen to the rule of grieving in this manner with the pyrotechnics and the glitter and the laughter is Erika. Now, I've seen other ways of grieving, as in people who just, don't want to be seen for a while, or people who drink. There's all of these other ways that people grieve, people who get into drugs, whatever it is. But generally, we recognize as humans what is within the realm of normal grieving. And this was the first time I've seen it done in this way. Especially when you add into the fact that this was a public execution and the entire world had a normal spiritual response to that, as we discussed earlier. We would therefore expect, since people who did not know Charlie could not get out of bed, that you would perhaps expect that of his wife. And then if you remove that part, if you remove the CEO, maybe, okay, some people want to throw themselves into work. It certainly helps me to get back to some sense of normalcy, not in that regard of wanting to become the CEO of a chairman of a company. But even if you removed all of that, I think the part that no one can make an excuse for is not instantly worrying about the safety of your kids.
Right.
If you just watch your husband be assassinated and you realize my kids only have one parent left, and I don't know how this happened, your natural instinct is to not leave your children's side.
Right. Great
and
point.
So I think that to me was the loudest part. Have your pyrotechnics, say you want to be the CEO, but to be present and at the office every day, days later, that doesn't track.
Right. Yeah. You released a voicemail of Erika talking to, I forget who she was talking to, but she was sharing some of the financials over the funeral of Charlie and how much money they made. It's just
a voicemail, Zoom call. What's going on? What are you talking about? But she's right about the kid thing, the being the only parent, and also you don't, at the time, if you're a regular person, you don't know what actually happened. You don't know if this was a targeted thing. You don't know if it was really the person they say it is. You know that he's this big political figure. You know he knows all these people. You know that what happened to Agent Orange, Prez Orange, you know his whole thing looked very, very odd. If you have your husband's Charlie, he probably talked to you about it and how weird it all was. So your first instinct, if you're a normal person with normal amounts of information and you know nothing, you would go, oh no, what just happened to him, and who did it? And could it be foreign tie? Could it be government? Who just did this? Could it be intel? Who just did this? And you would think the only thing you would want to do is be with your kids, because now you'd be like their real protector, right? Then also, if you're a normal person, you'd fire the security team, which she didn't. She kept all the security on because we saw her with them literally like 6 days later. So it was just very odd. If you're a normal person, when I say normal person, with the information that we all had, right? The information that everybody should have had, no more information, then you would think to yourself, I have to stay around my kids, right? But instead, she does the opposite. And she's like, I have to be away from my kids a lot. I am now going to be away from my kids so much that it's going to make people's heads spin. I'm going to be in front of crowds of people more than I'm with my kids. And listen, she might just, every time you don't see her, she might just be with her kids. You know, that's possible too. But I mean, I don't know. It's just very weird. It's very weird. My kid has never been alone with anybody but me and my wife. Like, there's never been a moment where the kid is not with either me or my wife. It doesn't matter who else is there. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, doesn't matter. We don't leave the kid alone. I don't know. That's just me, though. That's just me. I'm an extraordinary parent, apparently. I just thought that was normal. You watch after your kids all the time.
It sounds like she was gloating about the money, and she didn't really care about. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just like you was happy about the money and how good it went, and your husband's past it's like you almost forgot about your husband because it was a financial success.
So I just tell you how I experienced that call. I was spiritually disturbed by it. That's the truth. And everyone was. I didn't need to contextualize the call. The call was, this is 11 days, not even 2 weeks after your husband's been assassinated. You are referring to the memorial as the event of the century and discussing how much money you made off of selling T-shirts and hats. And then it almost felt like it was obligatory for her to then realize, like, oh, I should say something about Charlie. And it's like, oh, Charlie's dancing in heaven. He's like, get to work. And then, he's up there and he's like, more hats. I feel like if he's up there, he's probably like, please figure out what happened to me. Because they're lying to you, obviously, if we're doing that. So
I feel like the only thing you don't say when you're in heaven is more hats. I feel like, from what I've heard about this heaven place, that the one thing you're not concerned about is hats. I don't know. I know there's like a little halo joint that they give you when you get in there. Looks very stylish. Usually comes in white and gold. That's about it. But other than that, you don't usually care about hats, you know? You just want all the people who seem like your friends, who actually had something to do with you passing away. You just want to see them go to jail. But maybe you don't even want that. Maybe you're up there and you're just like, none of that's even real, guys. This is the real thing up here. Who knows? Who knows? But there was a moment where Charlie seemed like he was trying to get to somebody. He was making Candace have dreams. He's like, I was betrayed. Erika was telling stories about lights strobing when he passed away. Lights were going on and off. He was pissed. He was like, you did this. I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe you did this to me. It was like, what's that thing called? Do. That's what he was doing. He's like, I can't believe this B word did this to me. I swear, when I see you up here, I am going to, Jesus, I am. I don't care. No, I'm good. Listen, quiet for a second. I am going to lay the smack down. You have no idea. Lights just strobing out. Erika's just smiling, pouring sparkles on.
Contrast and sort of what I really felt from it was emotional manipulation. They were manipulating people to think that it was almost like divine, that they're a part of this turning point family. And we've experienced this together. And the best way that we can cope with this tragedy is to work harder and to work longer days and weekends and 20 hours, because that's what Charlie would want. Like, that's what makes Charlie dance in heaven. It made me feel disgusted to listen to it, if I'm being frank. As even if you didn't know Charlie, that was the general feeling.
Yeah,
and
like
except for the media, who keep trying to tell us.
Yeah, screw the hats, screw the money. I'd rather have my husband. That's
right.
I'm like, why are you even saying these things?
I was even expecting, like, okay, if you're going to say, like, if that's me and I'm like, I'm going to get to work. And for me, I then got obsessed because at first I couldn't watch the clip. My husband didn't let me watch it. So I saw the clip from afar of him getting shot, but I did not see the clip of him up close. And I'm glad he didn't let me watch that because I wasn't, I couldn't have dealt with that. It was a lot. Then I watched it obsessively and I watched every single angle and I organized, this angle from the side, left. And so my work was dedicated to trying to figure out what happened that day, who was there, what are the names of the people. Even if she had jumped on that call, the one that was 5 days later before the event, and said, here's what we're going to do. Like the events team, I want a list of every person that was there. I want, this, I want that. I want to know every single minute. Terrell, you bring me the tapes. Then I would say, okay, she's getting to work to solve who killed her husband.
Right.
But it wasn't that. It was like, I fully accept the narrative on day 5. Here's what we're going to do. We got to plan for the memorial. That's missing. You can't skip that process. You can't skip it. And looking at Vanessa Bryant, Kobe Bryant's wife, she went through all of the right emotions. She was suing everybody. She was angry. She was aggrieved. There were no pyrotechnics at the memorial event. Even the differences in her speech, like Erika is talking about turning point, what turning point is going to be. You didn't get to learn who Charlie was in that speech. It was like he was just a company. And Vanessa's speech, she speaks about her daughter and all the things she's going to miss about her daughter, things that we didn't know about Kobe. Like we were invited into that because we knew him as a basketball player, but this was her husband. And she spoke about what it was like not knowing that she wasn't going to be there when Gianna got married. And I say to people, you should challenge yourself to go watch Vanessa's speech and then compare it to Erika's memorial speech, and you will see what is missing here.
Right. Yeah. Right. It doesn't seem real. But the way you explained yourself, and like I just wanted to show the human side of you, because I see the attacks people are trying to make on you. It's like you genuinely want to find out who killed your best friend. That's the vibe I get. And from what I see from the people on the right, I mean, I'm not even going to call them on the right. I would say Zionists, Israel First Republicans. But I think it's if you were getting 10,000 views and wasn't making any money while you were doing it, I don't think they would have a problem. I think they're pretty much pissed off at your success. Yeah. But you were having a lot of great success before this Charlie Kirk incident happened. Right.
Yeah, they have nothing to judge me on, and that's what they're really upset with is these are the people that actually tried to grift off of his death. They sold T-shirts, they sold hats. I mean, Turning Point USA made $250 million in a couple of months. So it's just stunning that Erika sits up on Fox News and she says to people that are making tens and thousands of dollars on YouTube, okay, $250 million grift. Like, are you kidding me? In a couple of months? Like, that's just wild to me because they were referring to YouTubers even that were speaking about like the ballistic ones that were going viral. She's like, do you understand how much money they're making? I'm like, yeah, no, actually, do you understand how much money they're making? Because it's a drop in the bucket compared to what Turning Point USA has made. Like, they're trying to make it seem like everybody on YouTube now went from making $0 to hundreds of thousands of dollars or something like that, which couldn't be further from the truth. Our podcast was already top 10 globally. Right. Don't forget, this is part of why Brigitte is suing me, because she's saying that my podcast was successful only because I found out that she has a penis, right? Like, it can't be everyone keeps saying this. When I did the Kamala Chronicles and we were top 3 globally, at the end of last year, they were like, oh, it's only because of the election. And then when the Blake Lively series went viral and Blake Lively's people issued a statement, it was like, oh, it's only because of Blake Lively. It's like, calm down. Like, calm down, narcissists. It's because I'm dedicated to investigating things that I'm passionate about. And you could not have stumbled upon something that I am going to be more passionate about than finding out what happened to Charlie, because, and I explained this to my husband, it felt like there was a part of my political life, like a political innocence that died with Charlie. Right. You know what I mean? And that's why I go back to this, looking back at these texts of, oh my God, Charlie, Don Jr. just followed me. Eric Trump just followed me on Instagram. Right. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, in the future, we might be invited to speak on CPAC stage. Like, we sound like kids. And because we were, in a way, we were political kids. And we didn't understand how deep and how evil and I guess how dangerous politics could become. Yeah. And so I had to mourn that too. Like, this was recognition that this actually happened and the people who should be protecting Charlie and who he gave his life to are silent. So you stumbled upon, you already knew I liked to investigate evil, and then you committed an act of evil that was personal to me. So surprise, I'm here.
How does it feel, Candace?
I love that. That's crazy. And she's right. She's right. When it comes to a lot of people, people always move towards that. They're like, oh, you're covering this for clicks. And it's like, okay, do you know what the numbers look like already? That's like saying that about Jesse. It's like, have you looked, like, go look at the number. Like, he's not, it's the same. It's the same. You know, you can really like with me, it's exactly the same. In fact, Joe Rogan's always number one. No matter what happens, there's always going to be someone, even Candace, that will be number one for a while. Joe Rogan's always number one. It happens. Tucker was number one for a while, and then Joe just took it. Sean Ryan was number one for a while, and Joe just took it. He always takes it. He always does. It just happens. I don't know why, but that's just how it works. I went from talking about the number one person who pisses off people, usually on the left, but not many people, to covering somebody who pisses off everybody all the time. It's not always the greatest thing. So, but you know, again, this is a big thing. This is going to be a big thing, you know? It's going to be talked about for a really long time. Like your kids are going to ask you about that. Okay. Someone just said still laughing about RoboCop when I said Dan Bongino looked like RoboCop. Come on, I'm trying to be serious here. How dare you? Come on. Don't do that to Dan Bongino. He's hanging on. His hairline starts up here on the top of his head and he's hanging on. It's hard to let go. I get it. I did it when I was young, so I didn't even know what I was missing. If I hung on to my hair until I was like 30, I would have been like, I'm like Tim Pool. Tim Pool has no hair, just on the sides. He's rocking the Hulk Hogan, then puts the hat on top. Bro, just shave that off. What are we talking about here? I don't know. I learned from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was like, you don't need hair. And I was like, yeah, got rid of that stuff. You know, but RoboCop, Dan Bongino, he's still rocking it, still looking ridiculous. It's fine. What is he, like 60? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on to Candace talking about Now Prez and Redacted Jeff. Let's go.
Thread that needle while making it clear that I do support law enforcement.
Right.
And there are tons of brave men and women stand up for our military, but I do not support the corruption of our military, which has been going on for decades.
Right. I want to show you this clip of Trump. He was asked about the Epstein files. Here's the clip, Ken.
Epstein conspired against me. So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned. But you got a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country, too.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines. Oh. I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else, really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to the survivors who
you are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known
Literally just because got 3 questions about the files and then ends up snapping. And I love a good snap from Agent Orange. I love it. I absolutely love it. But in that case, it was a little bit silly. And listen, I'm no fan of the handsome Caitlin Collins. I'm no fan of that handsome lady. But for you to flip out because she's asking about the files, and it's one of the biggest stories in the world, and you're just like, I can't believe this. Just in Turning Point form, everybody has hats, and he's like, you don't want a hat? You don't want a hat. You want to talk about this? This is why you guys get no ratings. It's like, you're right about the ratings. But you should be answering things about the files. You shouldn't be getting on her because she's asking about the files. I think that's a little ridiculous.
Well, he doesn't want to discuss us even before the dump, right? So we knew that, obviously, and I think maybe Project Veritas had done some work and said that his had revealed a video that someone said his donors were in the files, and we obviously have not received the full files. It's very obvious that what's missing are the current active Mossad type agents in the United States that we know were intimately involved with. And so he's wanted to turn the chapter on that full stop. Is she being intentionally provocative? Yes, of course, it's CNN. Is she trying to make it seem like she's implicated in the else for sure? But to her broader point, saying that the victims of abuse, that is a valid question. So when you say let's turn the page on the files, you are making a remark that impacts the people who were swept up in what was a operation, which is still being covered by the elites who it served. Which, by the way, it goes right back to that's why he doesn't want to discuss it. And I want to be clear: this is what I mean when I say he's out of touch with his voters. We care about this. Okay. Moms care about whether or not we're still running the world. Dads care about whether or not are running the world. That's not a leftist talking point. If we can't protect children, we're not even a nation, right?
Right.
We have totally violated the social contract with our government has totally violated the social contract if we can't even protect children.
Right.
So this is why people feel like we're on the brink of a civil war, because they're kind of saying, yeah, we don't care. Yeah, sure. We had an island built after an Egyptian temple. Children were being sub-layer, but we're now over that because we got him out of a prison and he's happily living probably in Tel Aviv. Like, that's not going to work. That can't be the messaging going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't like when he keeps calling it a hoax. It's like, why would you use that verbiage? Why would you use that language to describe?
It's like a smack in the face to all the victims of him.
Yeah.
It's because they do think that we're a cult. And I started to believe that everything he said, his followers would get behind because we fought so hard for him when he was actually wronged. But the important piece that he's missing is he had actually been wronged. In this circumstance, the victims of Epstein's network, the people that were actually harmed.
Right.
That's a great point. And like that's a perfect like the way she touched on that was perfect, because you could tell what side of things she's on. She's like, this happened because he was actually wronged, right? And now it's the victims who were wronged. So people weren't just following him because it was him, but it was him because he was actually downtrodden because of the things that happened, the things that they were doing to him. And it was very blatant. Now it's the same type of blatant disregard when you're talking about the files. Now, somebody just said, oh, can you blame him? Because it only became a problem when he became the now prez. That is not true. That's why he ran on it. That's why everybody who interviewed him would ask him if he was going to release the files, because it was something that people have been talking about for a very long time. If you are in the tinfoil alumni, you've probably been talking about this for almost 10 years. So no, this wasn't just a problem as soon as he became prez. Okay, this has been something that it was in the fringes for a while where people would bring it up. And then it became a little more main with people who were like all like deplatformed. And then it started getting into the normal zeitgeist of things, to the point where someone who was running for office was talking about it, saying that they are considering releasing them unredacted, which was him. So you're wrong, person. I'm going to call you Joe. Shout out to Baron. I'm going to call you Joe. No offense. Anyway.